welcome back. Today, it's Tuesday, a little behind on my chores here in the home market garden. I just ran another row of my Florida weave. I've been trimming up my bottom growth leaves, so I'm trying to keep everything below where tomatoes are growing trimmed up. I'm having a little bit of an issue here. Look at a beautiful butterfly with some of the leaves. Okay, that's probably a nutrient or water issue. I am getting some blossom end rot in some of my tomatoes. It's not ruining the whole crop, so I'm not going to do anything about it, only because I have a trip planned and I need to get ready for that. Otherwise, I'd probably deal with it. The marigolds and zinnias, I mean, they're just spectacular. Let me bring this in for a little bit of a close-up. Look at how beautiful. As you just saw the butterfly, there's lots of butterflies and bees. I've been doing a lot of, well, it's a take on a fried green tomato. Basically, I prepare it the same, a little bit of olive oil, and I bake it off. And they're delicious. So we're doing like an appetizer of that every night. And we are getting some ripe Brandywine heirloom tomatoes. And the flavor, the amount of meat in that tomato versus seeds is just spectacular. But it's an heirloom seed, so there are some issues. They're not the prettiest, but I promise you, if you ever grow them, they're going to be one of the best tasting tomatoes you've ever eaten. I do have some Roma tomatoes in the back section, in the shorter beds, and I have a few in my food forest area. All right, let me go ahead and do a little more trimming. We'll come back and I'll give you a tour of what's going on here. You know, I just thought of something. Before we move on to showing you how things are growing, I'm going to show you a section of where I haven't trimmed up my tomato plants yet, and I'm ready to run another row of the Florida weave. But I did want to share some thoughts that I have with the Florida weave. I have some older videos, and if I actually can do my job right, I'll link it. But traditionally, I've taken my metal T-posts and I've put cattle panel in between them, and I've used my tomato trellis clips to hold my tomato plants in place. That's a better method. The drawback is it's a little bit more permanent. So if I wanted to take this down and in September start planting a lot of my beets, fennel, lettuces, greens, things of that nature, I'd have to remove it all. A little bit more work, where when I am ready to take down my tomato plants and start to prepare the bed, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 posts in this 40-foot bed. I'll make sure I properly dispose of this twine. It's not one that I don't think is recyclable. But anyway, my thoughts. It's a viable method. It's not quite as secure. The plants are tending to drift a little bit. Sometimes I have it tight, other times it's loose. I have, as I'm trimming my plants, accidentally cut my twine. So there's things of that nature that you have to contend with. But I really do think it's worked out well, and I'm going to use it again. So that's just a quick thought on it. I do have cattle panel in the back there. I need to break it down to smaller sections. I will store it. I've used it back where I have my mulberries, and that works out really well because they're kind of flimsy. So having something that's permanent, because I'm not going to move those, works out better. So I might add some more going towards the banana tree. But just a quick comment on the Florida weave. I think it's worked out well. I've used it in the food forest. You all know that if you watch the videos. I've used it here in my Italian sweet peppers, which some of them have turned red. I've been eating them green, and I've stuffed some of them. I've posted some of those on my Instagram account, which is nonnoswhilesomeliving. You should check it out. A lot of food stuff there. But anyway, now they're turning red. They're spectacular. All right, let me grab the camera and we'll give you a quick tour. Before I move on, rosemary for days. two rosemary plants, a little bit different variety. This one right here is a little bit larger or longer leaf. And back over by the greenhouse, again, that was one from a single sprig, so thriving. Another one of my favorite herbs right there is thyme. And while we're here, again, these were all from seeds that I harvested, these marigolds. That was a single plant. Look at how large it's growing. And same thing here, the zinnias were a single plant. I've given a few away, but I still have more. While we're right here, there's two more rosemary plants in pots. I've been slowly potting them up, and you can see they're just thriving. Propagation. Check it out. Now, the star of the show, Brandywine heirloom tomatoes. I mean, let me just give you, if I can, how large those are. I mean, there's two right there. Here's another one. Let me come around the backside. Look at the size of that. It's huge. And I'll come over here and you can see lots of smaller ones. You could see the marigolds. Again, I really think they're very beneficial for my garden. I'm going to just pause right here so you could see the multiple clusters. And if you bear with me for 1 second, we'll come right over here. There's that butterfly again. And look at what we have here. We have some tomatoes that are almost ripe. And we'll come to the front here where it gets a little more sun. And you can see we still have fennel. Okay, I'm going to attempt to navigate down this pathway here. Again, I have not trimmed on the backside yet, but you could see a little bit of a mildew issue, probably a powdery mildew. We've been getting a lot of rain. Now, as I said earlier, I haven't run my next row of the Florida weave, so I've got to work on that. I am getting some onions. Now, this is really interesting because I started these onions in September from seeds. I'm going to be making another pot of soup, so I have 1 or 2 that I'm going to harvest. Last week's soup, I got 2 onions, and they were excellent. So again, here we are. I haven't trimmed this, all right? I'm falling behind here. I don't like to see that. And there's more marigolds. We're getting some ripe tomatoes. I'm going to give you the backside of that outer 40-foot bed. I mean, you could see everything's just thriving. There's another one of my favorite herbs, thyme. Again, this was from a cutting, propagated, and it's another plant. I put it right there. Sweet potatoes have taken over. I do have in here some basil, not doing so well. And if we look in here, I have a mulberry cutting, and you can see all the new growth right here. So I need to get that in the ground. I've cut back most of my collard greens. I'm not keeping them, so I'm going to be cutting those back. There's another onion. There's what's left of my kale. Still enough for our soups. I'm going to come around to that Italian sweet pepper plant. Oh, real quick. This is the Happy Rich broccoli. Excellent. Thank you, Jim Kovaleski, for that recommendation. I'm trying to let this go to seed because we really enjoy it. So we'll see how that goes. We have a little bit of a glare where I'm standing right now, but you could see all the new growth on my figs. Okay. I'm not anticipating getting a lot of fruit, if any, this year, but we're off to a good start. Let's come back in here now and see where we've got some of those peppers. Look at those vibrant red colors. I have a bunch more over here that are green, starting to turn. And again, I'll step back so you can see the Florida weave. I have new growth. It just keeps growing. They're easy 4+ feet. And I need another Florida weave right there. I had some extra Roma tomato plants, and I just put them in here. And I do have another Italian sweet pepper plant. It's not getting a lot of sun, so it's not doing well. But I had to plant. I figured I might as well put it in the ground. And there's looking out from the side of the house. So that next 40-foot row is what I need to trim and get another row of the weave on. I just wanted to take a second because it's on the propagation topic. This banana plant right here and the other one, they were pups from my Namwa banana plant up front, and already we have one pup here. This other one has 3. Now unfortunately I will have to move this. I'm going to be putting up a carport back in this area. There's another banana that I harvested from a pup, and you could see right there there's another one coming up. So you get one banana plant, if it's planted properly and you're taking care of it, you're going to get lots of pups. Ideally you'll have 3 in the circle, and you could harvest those pups. And I direct planted these. I didn't do anything. There were some roots, put them right in the ground, watered them, and they're thriving. But they also would make I'm sure, a welcome gift to any friends, neighbors, or family. Real quick, in the food forest, that's Mexican sunflower, very high in nitrogen. I chop it and drop it around my avocado trees, which I have 2 right there. So that's something y'all should look into. Check it out, Mexican sunflower. And lastly, a view. There's my bananas. I need to trim them back. I have a lot of pups I need to harvest. But this is just looking from the front of the property back, so you can get a perspective of how many tomatoes I have. We do have some avocados in the tree. It's loaded up. A little bit of luck, we'll get some this year. We love avocados. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. Again, I'm just going to say I'm going to let the results speak for themselves as far as the market garden techniques and how they're working out for me. Lots of Brandywine heirloom tomatoes. To reiterate, I'm a fan of the Florida weave. I think it's a very effective way to trellis your plants. On that note, I'll leave you like I always do. Leave me alone, I'm busy farming. And we'll see you at the next video. Please subscribe and give us a like. We really appreciate it. Thank you.